Las Vegas, the city of lights and never-ending dreams, is now facing a nightmare it can't escape. For decades, it was called the town that never sleeps, but today the sleepless nights are filled with fear, mass layoffs quietly sweeping across the strip, a housing market drowning in foreclosures, and an AI wave that's swallowing jobs faster than anyone imagined. The numbers don't lie, and they're chilling. Hotel occupancy collapsing even on the 4th of July, the one holiday Vegas could always count on. Families losing their homes as hedge funds scoop up entire neighborhoods. Workers cut loose in silence, told nothing until their hours disappear. And behind it all, the rise of artificial intelligence threatens to finish the job, erasing careers and pushing an already fragile economy to the edge. This isn't just a string of bad headlines. This is a city on the verge of collapse. For years, people believed Vegas was untouchable, fueled by casino shows and glamour. But what happens when the foundation itself cracks? What happens when the workers who keep the lights on can't even pay rent, and the tourists who once filled every room no longer show up? The truth is brutal, and it's unfolding right now. This is the story of how Las Vegas, America's playground, is melting down before our very eyes. For as long as anyone can remember, Las Vegas has thrived on one thing above all else: bodies in hotel rooms. Tourists filling the strip meant packed casinos, buzzing restaurants, and endless nightlife. If the rooms were booked, the city was alive. But today, that lifeline is snapping. The numbers coming out of this summer are nothing short of catastrophic, and they mark a shift that even the most optimistic Vegas boosters can't spin away. It started in June when hotel occupancy on the Strip dropped by nearly 15% compared to the year before. That figure might sound abstract, but in Vegas, it's a death sentence. A city where profits live and die by the difference between a 90% weekend fill rate and an 80% one suddenly saw its weekday occupancy sink below 80 for the first time in years, and weekends dip under 90. To outsiders, those numbers may not raise alarms, but for insiders, it was a flashing red warning light. When the Strip can't fill its hotels on the weekends, the bread and butter of Vegas, the entire economy begins to buckle. Then came the 4th of July, a holiday that has always been bulletproof for Vegas. Independence Day has traditionally been one of the biggest weekends of the year, a sure thing where rooms were booked out months in advance. But not this year. Instead of record-breaking crowds, the week ending July 5th saw occupancy collapse by a staggering 16.8%, bottoming out at just 66.7% of rooms filled. Think about that for a second. At a time when Vegas should have been bursting at the seams, more than a third of its hotel rooms sat empty. For a city whose identity is built on constant crowds and overflowing casinos, that figure is chilling. If Vegas can't even sell out the 4th of July, what does that say about the rest of the year? Walking along Fremont Street, some locals argue it doesn't look quite as bad. Neon signs still glow and street performers still hustle for tips. But numbers don't lie. A temporary buzz of nightlife doesn't change the fact that the Strip is bleeding money. The official stats from the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority for all of July haven't even been fully released yet, and already the data suggests the downturn is worse than anyone expected. And behind the glossy PR statements about resilience and recovery, hotel executives know the truth. Fewer heads in beds means millions lost, and those losses ripple across every layer of the city. When tourists don't come, the consequences spread like wildfire. Casino floors go quiet, bars lose their crowds, restaurants/staff and performers face cancelled shows. The taxi drivers, limo drivers, and Uber hustlers, who once counted on holiday weekends to pay their bills, are left with empty back seats. Even the souvenir shops that line the Strip feel the pinch when visitor numbers crater. Vegas isn't a diversified economy. It doesn't have Silicon Valley's tech wealth or Wall Street's financial backbone. It lives and dies by its tourism engine, and right now, that engine is sputtering. The worst part. This collapse isn't just a blip caused by one bad month. The trend started months earlier with declines in June, and the July numbers only confirm that the downward spiral is accelerating. Analysts are already warning that without a major turnaround, 2025 could go down as the year Vegas finally broke. And while promoters may insist the city always bounces back, history doesn't guarantee the future. What happens when high prices, economic uncertainty, and global shifts in travel behavior converge all at once? The current signs suggest that Vegas, for the first time in decades, may not bounce back at all. The Strip has always been a symbol of excess of champagne, flowing slot machines ringing, and hotel lobbies packed with tourists from every corner of the world. But behind the facade of neon lights, a brutal reality is taking hold. Rooms are sitting empty, profits are evaporating, and the backbone of the Vegas economy is cracking. And if tourism is collapsing, everything else that depends on it is destined to follow. If the collapse of tourism is one punch to the gut, the unraveling of Las Vegas's housing market is the knockout blow. Because when people stop coming to the city, when hotel rooms sit empty and casino profits sink, the impact doesn't stay on the Strip. It spreads to the neighborhoods, the suburbs, and the very foundations of daily life. The numbers are ugly, and they reveal a crisis that looks frighteningly familiar to anyone who remembers 2008. Nevada now leads the entire United States in foreclosures. In just 1 month, more than 2,300 homes across the state received foreclosure notices. Families waking up to certified letters telling them the house they worked so hard to buy is slipping away. Dreams shattered overnight. Florida, another tourism-driven economy, is right behind Nevada, with more than 2,400 homes under foreclosure. But in Vegas, the reality feels sharper because the city is smaller, more dependent, and far less forgiving when the economic tide turns. Drive through certain neighborhoods in the valley and you'll see it already, the for sale signs sitting in front yards for months with no takers' lawns going brown because owners can't keep up homes quietly abandoned as residents pack up in the middle of the night. At one time, Las Vegas was the hottest housing market in the country, fueled by cheap credit and endless optimism. Houses would sell in days, sometimes in hours, with bidding wars that drove prices into the stratosphere. That frenzy is gone. Today, 77% of homes listed on the market are sitting untouched, receiving little to no offers. It's a freeze and it's crushing the city's economy. The harsh math makes it clear why. To afford a median-priced home in Las Vegas today, a family needs to make around $130,000 a year. That figure is nearly double what many casino employees, service workers, or middle-class families actually earn. Even households with two steady incomes find themselves coming up short. The dream of owning a home in Vegas has become just that, a dream. And for those who already managed to buy when interest rates were lower, rising payments and shrinking incomes are pushing them toward default. But the pain doesn't end with individual families. Hedge funds and massive investment companies have moved in like vultures, buying up homes by the hundreds, even the thousands at discounted prices. They turn those properties into rentals, locking locals into a future where ownership is out of reach and rent money flows straight to Wall Street instead of staying in the community. It's the new model of housing: you'll own nothing and you'll be told to like it. For ordinary Vegas residents, it feels less like the American dream and more like a slow-motion nightmare. Foreclosures are more than just statistics. They ripple across the social fabric. When a family loses a home, kids are uprooted from schools, neighborhoods fracture, and local businesses lose customers. Multiply that by thousands, and you get entire communities hollowed out. Grocery stores, repair shops, and small restaurants, all the places that depend on steady local traffic, see revenues dry up. It's not just about roofs over heads, it's about the collapse of the ecosystem that makes a city livable. Worse still, housing is the bellwether for recessions in America. Every major downturn in recent history has been preceded by spikes in foreclosures, and Vegas is now flashing the brightest warning sign in the nation. Economists call it the Psalm rule: when unemployment rises and stays high, foreclosures follow, and soon the entire economy tips into recession. By that measure, Nevada isn't just in trouble, It's already the canary in the coal mine for a looming national crisis. And if anyone thinks this is just another dip that Vegas will bounce back from, consider this: the city never diversified its economy after the crash of 2008. It rebuilt casinos, hotels, and nightlife, but never found a backup plan. That means when housing buckles under the pressure of weak tourism, high interest rates, and stagnant wages, there's no safety net. Residents are left stranded, clinging to properties they can't keep, while investors and out-of-state landlords tighten their grip. The foreclosure wave hitting Vegas isn't just about people losing homes, it's about a city losing its soul. A place once built on the promise of endless opportunity is now haunted by eviction notices and bank-owned signs. And the truth is brutal: when locals can't afford to stay in their own city and outsiders buy up the scraps. What remains of Las Vegas is nothing more than a hollow shell of neon and broken promises. If the housing crisis is tearing apart families, the silent wave of layoffs is tearing apart the very workforce that keeps Las Vegas alive. Because behind the flashing neon signs and glitzy casino facades, workers are being cut loose in ways the public barely hears about. Official unemployment numbers tell part of the story, but the truth is far worse, and much of it is happening in the shadows. Right now, Las Vegas's unemployment rate hovers at about 5.8%. That might not sound devastating compared to some historical recessions, but context is everything. Just a few years ago, in 2018 and 2019, Vegas had unemployment as low as 3%. For a city where most people live paycheck to paycheck, that difference is massive. It means thousands of households suddenly scrambling, struggling to cover rent, food, and car payments in a place where costs are rising faster than wages. And those official statistics only reflect what's reported. What doesn't get reported are the quiet layoffs, the ones casino executives slip through without press releases or headlines. One insider story that leaked out recently shows how brutal it's become. At the Cosmopolitan, a luxury property MGM spent billions to acquire more than 200 housekeeping workers were quietly let go. No major announcement, no public acknowledgement, just suddenly gone. Those who remain are clawing at each other for hours, trying desperately to keep enough shifts to pay their bills. It's a quiet bloodletting, the kind of cut that rarely makes the evening news, but devastates hundreds of families at once. The pain doesn't stop there. Service jobs across the Strip are evaporating. Limo drivers, once flush with business from high-rolling tourists, and convention crowds are watching their rides dry up. Taxi drivers, bartenders, stagehands, and cocktail servers all report fewer hours and fewer tips. For workers in these industries, the Strip isn't just a place to clock in, it's the only lifeline they have. When the hours vanish, so does everything else. To make matters worse, the culture of tipping that once softened the blow is fading. Guests, seeing higher resort fees and outrageous prices everywhere they turn, are cutting back on tips even when housekeeping staff or servers work harder than ever. That small stream of cash that once kept food on the table is drying up. Workers who used to scrape by on long hours and generous gratuities are now finding themselves cornered with no way to make ends meet. The dangerous irony is that while casinos quietly shed staff, corporate profits are still protected. Executives cut the lowest paid jobs, first reducing costs in ways the public doesn't notice until service quality plunges. But the real victims are the workers who made Vegas run, the ones who cleaned the rooms, drove the limos, poured the drinks, and smiled for tourists, even when their own lives were falling apart. For them, the city is turning cold, ruthless, and unrecognizable. And layoffs in Vegas aren't isolated, they're tied to a national trend. Across the country, mass job cuts are spreading, especially in industries once thought untouchable. The idea of job security is crumbling, and in Vegas, that collapse is magnified by a lack of options. Unlike New York or Los Angeles, there isn't a wide safety net of industries to absorb displaced workers. When someone loses a casino job in Vegas, there often isn't anywhere else to go. All of this creates a brutal feedback loop. As workers lose jobs, they spend less. As they spend less, local businesses close. As businesses close, more jobs disappear. It's a cycle that pushes the city closer and closer to the edge. And unlike past recessions, there's no clear timeline for when or if the jobs will return. For decades, Las Vegas built its image as a city of opportunity, a place where anyone could arrive with little and make a living under the glow of the Strip. But with layoffs cutting deep and unemployment rising, that dream is unraveling. The workers who gave the city its sparkle are being cast aside, left to wonder how long the neon will shine once the people behind it can no longer survive. If secret layoffs are slicing through Las Vegas's service industry, an even bigger storm is brewing nationwide, and its shockwaves are already hitting Nevada, the rise of artificial intelligence and the collapse of tech jobs. For years, workers were told to adapt or be left behind. Politicians and executives repeated the same mantra: learn to code, get into tech, and you'll be safe. But the promise has turned into a cruel joke, because even those who adapted are now being discarded, and the replacement isn't another human being, it's a machine. The numbers paint a chilling picture. Since 2024, tech companies across the United States have slashed more than 95,000 jobs. And 2025 isn't over yet. Engineers, coders, designers, the very people once thought untouchable, are now being shown the door. These aren't isolated cuts. They're part of a nationwide purge fueled by AI systems that can write code, generate designs, and perform tasks that once required entire departments. The Silicon Valley dream, once a ticket to financial security, is unraveling, and the AI revolution is coming for everyone else too. In Las Vegas, this shift has an extra sting. Many workers who lost jobs in hospitality or construction during earlier downturns were told their future was in tech. Community colleges offered coding boot camps, non-profit programs promised to retrain laid-off workers for a digital economy. But today, those same newly trained coders are being laid off alongside the veterans. The jobs they fought so hard to qualify for are evaporating, replaced by algorithms that work faster, cheaper, and without paychecks. For those who believe tech was their way out of poverty, it's another cruel bait and switch. And the AI takeover isn't just gutting the tech world, it's reshaping entire industries. Casinos themselves are experimenting with AI-driven operations, automated check-in kiosks, replacing front desk staff, AI surveillance systems, reducing the need for security teams, and even robotic bartenders shaking cocktails. What starts as efficiency quickly becomes another round of job losses. The pitch is always the same: AI will free humans from repetitive work. But in practice, AI is stripping away paychecks one role at a time, while the humans it replaces scramble for whatever scraps remain. The media space is also feeling the pressure, and Las Vegas offers a bizarre case study. Entire YouTube channels run by AI churning out generic videos about Las Vegas decline are pulling in hundreds of thousands of views. No humans filming, no reporters digging, just AI voices narrating AI scripts over stock footage. Viewers click, algorithms push the content, and the cycle repeats. Meanwhile, real workers, journalists, editors, creators are left wondering how long they can compete against machines that don't need salaries or sleep. The impact on everyday life is profound. The same workers who once survived by shifting from one job to another, say a bartender turned rideshare driver or a retail clerk turned front desk agent, are finding their options shrinking. Jobs that once served as fallbacks are disappearing. A city that has always reinvented itself with each downturn now faces a challenge. It can't spin away. Machines don't gamble, machines don't eat at restaurants, and machines don't pay rent. Yet machines are taking the jobs of the people who do. What makes this moment especially dangerous is the sense of inevitability. Tech executives admit openly that AI will replace millions of jobs in the coming years, but they frame it as progress. Politicians speak about reskilling workers, but no one can answer the question of what jobs people will train for when every industry is automating. For Vegas, where the vast majority of employment is in roles, AI can easily mimic customer service, scheduling, cleaning, transportation. The future is grim. The city may not just lose jobs, it may lose its identity. Some optimists argue AI will create new industries, just as past technological revolutions did. But those revolutions took decades to absorb displaced workers, and they came with rising wages that softened the blow. This time, AI's speed and reach are overwhelming. It doesn't take decades to replace people, it takes months. And while executives and investors reap record profits, ordinary families are left in free fall. The AI apocalypse isn't a sci-fi nightmare anymore. It's here, it's accelerating, and it's hitting hardest in places like Las Vegas, where an economy already buckling under falling tourism and collapsing housing now faces a technological wave that could wipe out whatever stability remains. For Vegas workers, the message is brutal: the machines aren't coming, they're already here and they're taking over. If falling hotel numbers, foreclosures, and layoffs weren't enough, Las Vegas is now facing a threat from outside its borders, a collapse in international tourism that could deliver the final blow. For decades, Vegas thrived not only on domestic travelers, but on a steady stream of international visitors who spent big, stayed long, and kept the Strip's reputation alive. But in 2025, that flow has slowed to a dangerous trickle, and the numbers are starting to paint a picture of a city drifting toward ghost town status. One of the hardest hits has come from Canada. For years, Canadian tourists made up a sizable chunk of Vegas's international traffic. Direct flights from cities like Toronto, Vancouver, and Calgary kept planes full and casino floors buzzing. But now, passenger numbers on Canadian airlines servicing Las Vegas are collapsing, with drops of 20 to 30% on certain routes. That's not just a few empty seats, it's entire flights arriving half full. And when fewer Canadians come, the impact is felt immediately. They were known not just for filling hotel rooms, but for spending heavily in restaurants, shows, and on the casino floor. Losing them means Vegas doesn't just miss out on visitor counts, it loses millions in spending that can't be replaced. This decline in international travel comes at the worst possible time. With domestic visitors already pulling back because of high prices, inflation, and economic uncertainty, Vegas has never needed international dollars more. Yet instead of growth, the city is watching its global draw evaporate. Airline carriers are cutting back flights, making it harder and more expensive for international tourists to even get to Nevada. At the same time, other global destinations from Mexico to Europe to Asia are aggressively competing for the same customers, often at lower costs. Vegas is no longer the automatic choice it once was. The broader consequences are devastating. When international tourism declines, it doesn't just affect casinos. Conventions shrink, high-end retailers lose foreign shoppers, and even the luxury real estate market feels the pinch. The entire brand of Las Vegas as a global entertainment hub begins to crack. This is how the slow fade toward ghost town begins, not in a sudden collapse, but in a gradual erosion of the very audiences that made the city thrive. Locals are already noticing the difference. Walk the Strip today, and you'll hear fewer languages in the crowds, see fewer foreign tour groups clustering around landmarks. The international energy, once a defining feature of Vegas's streets, is dimming. And as it fades, so does the money that supported thousands of local jobs. For every plane that lands half empty, for every cancelled tour group, there are service workers in Vegas losing tips, small businesses losing customers, and neighborhoods losing stability. The grim reality is that Vegas can't survive on local traffic alone. Without a steady flow of international tourists bringing outside money into the city, the Strip risks becoming a shell of its former self, a glittering facade with nothing behind it. And if the trend continues, the warnings about Las Vegas becoming a ghost town by 2030 won't sound like exaggeration. They'll sound like prophecy. Las Vegas was built on the illusion that the party would never end. The casinos would always be full, the hotels always booked, the lights always shining. But today, that illusion is cracking wide open. Empty rooms, abandoned homes, secret layoffs, and an AI wave erasing jobs across industries. The meltdown is no longer a warning. It's happening right now. The Strip that once symbolized limitless opportunity is becoming a case study in fragility. When tourism collapses, housing crumbles. When housing crumbles, workers are cast aside. And when AI takes away the fallback jobs, there's nowhere left to run. Add in the disappearance of international visitors, and you don't have a city that's thriving, you have a city on life support. The scary truth is that Las Vegas may not have until 2030 to turn things around. The ghost town future people whisper about could arrive much sooner than anyone wants to admit. What happens in Vegas doesn't just stay in Vegas anymore. It reflects a larger story about America's economy, about how quickly stability can unravel, and about how technology greed and short-term thinking can push entire communities to the brink. So the question is, will Vegas find a way to fight back, or are we already watching its downfall in real time? If you don't want to miss the next chapter in this story, the truth behind the numbers, the secrets the casinos won't tell you, and the battles ordinary workers are fighting to survive, hit subscribe right now. Because the meltdown is just beginning and the next shock may be even worse.